Oh, that's better.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
Something,
That's a trout.
I don't know if it's a trout or a red, but
Oh, I think you got a trout.
yeah, this is, no, it's just a really strong trout. It's not, it's a nice one.
That's a good 18, maybe 19.
Yeah, beautiful. Hey out there to all you fishing folk. This is John Miller again. What a great bait the stick bait is. And what is this thing actually? I mean, if you look at this, the way we move it, it's actually a boat. So in order to understand how these stick baits actually work when you do the walk the dog motion, it would be helpful to look at boats and to see how they move and how they are controlled by the hydrodynamic forces. And the best boat to look at is not a 24-foot bay boat. It's a kayak, because kayaks are much closer in hull design to the stick baits that we use so successfully to catch speckled trout and other game fish. I'm going to talk first about whitewater kayaks like this Dagger RPM, which is more specifically a river runner. This is a kayak that would be difficult to fish out of because to keep going forward in a straight line, you need to be continually paddling it. So we can say it does not track. If you stop paddling this kayak, it does a funny motion where it will turn almost 180 degrees and then back again. This is because of the shape of the hull, which has no keel, it's very rounded, and has a lot of rocker. This means that it cannot hold forward momentum easily without being directed. Now, why would you want such a kayak? Well, it can do unique things that a tracking kayak cannot do. For instance, it can surf waves. It can also turn on a dime. The reason that a whitewater kayak can turn on a dime is because water can pass underneath the hull with very little resistance, no matter what direction the water's flowing relative to the hull. This is very important, of course, if you're in a whitewater river and you need to be able to navigate quickly through the rapids. In comparison, this popular Hobie fishing kayak has a very large keel, which means there is less resistance from the water when the kayak is moving forwards than when it's moving sideways. Therefore, it wants to remain moving forward when force is removed, or you can say it tracks well. It also has a much flatter bottom profile as compared to the generous rocker on the RPM. This also increases its tracking and glide capability. Okay, let's get back to stick baits and see how the principles of kayak design apply to the walk the dog presentation. Walking the dog is achieved by a quick jerk of the line followed by the release of line tension. This causes the bait to swing from side to side on the surface of the water. I'm going to look at a couple of stick baits and their designs, starting with this mirrorlure she-dog. Right away I can see that this bait has a rounded bottom and substantial rocker, just like the RPM kayak has. So I can conclude that it will not track well and will easily swing to the side when the line tension is released. And in fact, this stick bait is known as one of the easiest to achieve a walk the dog presentation. The she-dog, like all the stick baits, have a toe point under the nose so that the nose is pulled up with the jerk and can't submerge like a floating twitch bait. The next stick bait is the head and spook. It has a flatter bottom or less rocker than the she-dog, but it has a rounded body which will move through the water sideways without too much effort, and it will give you a nice walk the dog action. However, I think this bait has a tighter walk than the she-dog, but it achieves more glide. Another bait with a good blend of walking and gliding is the Matrix Mullet. It too has a rounded body with upward sweeps on each end. These features allow for a nice swinging cadence with some glide. Next is the Rapala Skitter V. It's easy to see that this bait is on the opposite end of the walk-glide scale than the she-dog. It has a keel like the fishing kayaks, and so that means it will track efficiently, but the swing part of the walk will not be its strong suit. In fact, I find it relatively hard to get this bait to achieve a walk-the-dog cadence, but it glides like a dream. All four of these baits will catch fish, but understanding how their shapes affect their action will help you choose the one that can achieve the presentation you want in a given situation. There we go.
Got it?
There we go. Big fish. Big fish.
Good.
Big fish. Yeah, this is a nice fish.
I'm right here.
Not huge.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not that big. Well, big though.
Yeah, it's a nice trout.
That's a big. That's a nice fish.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Good number 10.
And the she-dog came through on this big, probably 19-incher. What are we trying to imitate when walking the dog using a stick bait? Well, the most obvious answer for us in the Mississippi River estuary is a striped mullet. These bait fish are a favorite food for speckled trout, and at times they are found swimming at the surface of the water. Nuts! Another defining characteristic of stick baits is the sounds they make. This head and spook is called the one-knocker spook, and it has a single large tungsten ball. The ball can roll from end to end inside the body, and a knock is produced every time it hits an end. And there are also some internal speed bumps, which make additional knocks. The Rapala Skitter V also has a single large metal ball, which can travel from end to end inside the body. The Mirror she-dog has two large metal balls which are each contained in a chamber that is about 1/3 the length of the body of the lure. This arrangement gives it a machine gun sound. This is a very loud lure, but not just due to the two rattles. It's also due to the type of plastic that's used to make the body. I would characterize it as a very rigid material, which absorbs very little of the impact forces from the balls, and so more of the impact energy ends up going out as sound waves. The Matrix Mullet produces a totally different sound than the others. Because it has many smaller balls with no internal baffling. I can see how this approach could mimic a school of bait. And finally, here is the original Head and Zara Spook, which was one of the original stick baits for walking the dog. No, there isn't an audio problem. It has no rattles. I don't fish this bait as often as I should, especially in still conditions and in really shallow water. Oh, okay.
Boy, he put a what? That was cool to see. I was watching it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Well, if you hadn't ever really thought about how these stick baits work, I hope this video was helpful. Hey, good luck out there, and I hope you can use these Topwater stick baits to nail some trout.